Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lorelei Shamayo. This is Metaphysical Empowerment and Wellness Events. We have fairs in 4 cities in the Northwest, and we interview our practitioners so you get a sense of who we are before you meet us at our events. So here today, I have Jessica Martin with us. And so Jessica, great to have you.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. So please tell us a little bit about what your work is and what you share at our events.
Yeah, I'm an astrologer, and I have a unique way of approaching my astrology in that when you come to an event and you see me, in 15, 20 minutes, can go over your birth chart. And during that time, I would need your name, obviously, your date of birth, where you were born, and what time you were born. And the time is really critical. So if you're going to see me, come prepared. But what I do is I can look at your chart and tell you kind of like your life path and some overview information for you. And then I also tie it to herbs. So we can make you your own custom teas or your own custom capsules so that it would be whatever you personally need to best benefit you so you can be the best you.
So say a little bit more about the connection between the herbs and like people taking them as a tea, or like what are the different kinds of things that you would see in someone's chart that would have you lean towards a particular type of herb?
That's a really good point. For example, we have what's called a zodiac line, and it's one of our tea lines, and that's how this all kind of started. Where when I was studying and getting my certification in astrology, they often talked about astrology and medicine, and even today in medical school, they tie it for a term together. And what had happened is, like, for example, all of things are tied to elements. Like herbs are all from different parts of earth, and they have elements to them, and we're all made up of elements. So if, like, you take the Aries tea, for example, Aries is fire and it's hot. And when you think about Aries, it's typically combustible, right? It's a fire. It will burn up things. So when you look at herbs for someone who's an Aries, you look at those elements, and then you also try to like calm the fire. You might like take hops, for example. So our Aries tea does have hops in it, but then if you only gave Aries hops, then they would be upset because then they couldn't keep going and doing all the things. So then we also put in like orange peel and other things so that their energy level is higher and can keep up to what they're used to, but they don't burn themselves out, which a lot of Aries do, and then they end up having accidents and hurting themselves. And so it's just to help balance you out so you can keep going.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow, great. I see. So it's like herbs that really will like meet them and balance them. So it's all at the kind of that artistic, right? Intuitive.
Yeah.
Wow, great. So what is it like that people come to you for readings at events? Do they come with particular questions typically, or what does that look like?
No, not usually. Occasionally, like when people have a independent appointment with me outside of an event, usually that's specific questions. And sometimes I can see that in someone's chart at the event. I might have to, depending on what I see, I might just tell that person, maybe we should look at your chart later independently. Because sometimes it's just stuff that you don't want to hear in public, and people don't always realize that they're going to get that. And so when I see it, I want to point it out, but I don't want to do it in a situation that would make them uncomfortable. So at the reading in the event, like 15, 20 minutes, it goes over your 12 houses and the planets and the signs. And when I'm doing that, it's not really any particular questions, not unless something comes out, or if people do occasionally come with questions. Usually it's just an overview of everything. It touches on your home life, your career, your love life, any areas that would maybe, I'm trying to think of some of the things that I get often. It honestly depends on what's going on in energy at the time. But I mean, a lot of times we get a lot of careers, or a lot of moving on and healing. And I can tell people like this whole year is going to be about your identity and who you are and those kinds of things, and kind of give them their path for 12 months.
Yeah, that's great. And how did you get started doing this work? And, did you start more with astrology and herbs, or and how did they get mixed together?
Yeah, that's a great question. I started out with just the astrology, and I Well, I was sick actually with an autoimmune disease. And one of the things that happened is I got what they call fog, and I couldn't think very well. And so I thought, oh, this isn't good. So I called my astrologer and I said, and I've been seeing her for years. And I said, this has been going on and I'm really concerned. What's in my chart? And she just sent me my chart. And I was like, well, I want you to read it. And she said, well, for years I've been telling you to go learn because it's in your chart that you should be an astrologer. So I went down that path, and it was great because I did have the fog at the time and I needed something to mentally keep my brain going. And so it worked out great because with astrology, there's like math and astronomy and all these like things you have to memorize, and you have to understand the balance of everything. So I just did that for a while. And then after I got my certification, one of the things I learned when I was going through it is that the way I was going to approach astrology was very unique. I wasn't going to be someone that just stayed at my home and practiced and studied astrology and really got engrossed in that. I do have a ton of bookshelves of books, and I do honestly keep going and learning more because that's what I love about it. But at the same time, like I started going, I want to help people. When I was doing my readings, I kept finding that I was interacting with people that truly needed help. They either were struggling with depression, they were struggling with like some weird medical thing no one could figure out, or they were looking for direction with their career. And I seem to have like this constant calling to be with people that are career driven and that have like medical stuff that they're trying to sort out. And so as I was learning this, of course, one of the books I ended up picking up was about health and learning like all of the old astrology that was buried, because a lot of it's been coming out, especially with technology being so available. We're now able to get these old archive documents that we could never get in Western astrology before. So tying that in with all of the information I had on astrology, then learning that the herbs were very similar. They had stories that tied to the same planets, that tied to the same mythology. And once you started pairing them together, it was very easy, like, oh, this herb feels this way. So then when you touch the herbs, you can kind of feel like roots are typically cold depending on where they're from, but most of the roots we use for healing they feel cold. And you're like, oh, that's earth. What needs earth? What sign needs earth? What condition needs earth? And they all correlate. So Geminis, I'm a Gemini. So Geminis are air signs. We talk a lot, we're fast, we're like, we fully encompass ADD and asthma. That's what we do. So if you got 1, 2, maybe just only this or that, but so when you think about that, what I did is I thought, well, what herbs are good for that? And it's herbs that are calming to get you to mentally settle down, the herbs that will open up your lungs. And then you kind of just research what herbs do that. And then they naturally have stories that sync them together.
Wow, that's great. That's great. Very exciting. Well, if people want to learn more about you on the web, where should they go?
I have my tea company, which is rabbitspantry.com, and you can also request readings from there.
Great, great. It'd be lovely for people to come see you at fairs. I'm very excited to see the mixture of everything right together. And for those of you watching, so thank you, Jessica. And then come see us at Metaphysical Empowerment and Wellness Events. We're at MetaphysicalEmpowermentEvents.com. We have events in Seattle, Portland, Eugene, and Salem. Thanks so much.
Thank you.